So, as you know, if you watch my vlogs, I am very passionate about singing and music and acting and film and all that sort of stuff. But another big passion of mine is history. So I thought it would be fun today to share with you some of my favourite little quirky history tidbits. I love finding out interesting and amusing things about history, particularly English history. Obviously, being English, I'm really interested in learning about my country. I'm going to tell you 6 of my favourite history factoids. So here we go. Number 1. During the reign of Henry VIII, the most coveted position in the royal household was that of the groom of the stool. Basically, the lucky guy to get given this title wiped the king's arse after he'd gone to the loo. The reason it was so highly coveted was because of the amount of intimate time spent with the king, which regularly meant being let into some top state secrets. Factoid number 2. Apparently, the HMS Victory has never been decommissioned as the flagship of the Royal Navy. This means that although it hasn't been used as a fighting battleship since Nelson's time, it's still considered the most important vessel in the Royal Navy. Nelson's column in Trafalgar Square, London, was built to be exactly the same height as the mast on the Victory, and the statue of Nelson that stands on top of the column looks to his right across the square and oversees his fleet, which consists of statues of ships that sit on top of the lampshades that line the Mall. Factoid number 3. I don't know the date of this one, so if anyone can tell me, let me know in the comments. A law was passed making it illegal to die in the Houses of Parliament. The reason for this was that anybody who did die in the Houses of Parliament had the right to a state funeral, and the government didn't want to have to fork out for a state funeral for everyone who died there. How you punish a dead man, I don't know. Although this law is fairly irrelevant nowadays, it still stands. No one's ever been bothered to abolish it because it was either seen as not important enough or people were just plain lazy. Anybody who does die in the Houses of Parliament is registered as dying at St Thomas's Hospital. England has passed a lot of ridiculous laws throughout its history, and like this one, a lot of them have never been abolished. There's a link to a list of the ridiculous laws that we have in this country in the downstairs bar. If there are any others that aren't listed, let me know because I'll be really interested to hear about them. During the Second World War, the Russians came up with a brilliant plan to destroy enemy tanks. They strapped bombs to the backs of dogs and then trained them to crawl underneath the Russian tanks and blow themselves and the tanks up. The bombs were detonated by an aerial sticking out of the back of the dog, snapping as they crawled underneath the tank. However, because in training the dogs were only ever exposed to Russian tanks, they didn't recognise the enemy tanks, so in battle they went straight for the Russian tanks and blew up their army instead. When the modern Olympics began in 1896, painting, knitting, poetry reading and sculpture were all events. They were abolished in the 1940s because it was deemed unfair. Athletes competing in the Olympics had to be amateurs, so when the games finished they went back to their jobs as milkmen, labourers, teachers, etc. Whereas the artists, who tended to be professional artists, went back home, back to their job as an artist, and basically trained every day. So they decided that the artists had an unfair advantage over the athletes, which I think is a shame because speed knitting would be impressive to watch, I think. Finally, factoid number 6. During the Napoleonic Wars, a French ship was wrecked off the coast of Hartlepool. The English, being paranoid about French invasion, searched the wreck for survivors. The only survivor they found was a monkey who the ship's crew had dressed in military uniform for a laugh. The English had never been exposed to French people, they didn't know what they looked like, they didn't know what they sounded like, and likewise, they didn't know what a monkey looked like, so they assumed the monkey was a Frenchman. They didn't understand what the monkey was saying, so they put him to trial as a spy, found him guilty, and hanged him. Poor little monkey. So there you have my 6 history factoids. I hope you enjoyed them and found them interesting and amusing. I did. If you want any more videos like this, let me know. I love reading about this stuff and sharing my newfound knowledge, so I'll happily make more if more are wanted. Links to articles and websites about the 6 facts that I just presented you with are in the downstairs bar, so if you're interested, have a little look around and learn some new stuff for yourself.